Hey, welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. Last time we talked about my favorite games of the previous generation, but this week we're going to take a look at the flip side of that coin. The bad, the broken, the downright distasteful. It's my top 10 games of the previous generation that brought my blood to a boil. If you end up not hating this video, why not go down and give it a like, share it with a friend, or better yet, subscribe to the channel. Your support really does mean a lot to me. But before we get into that, I do have a couple of honorable mentions, or I guess dishonorable mentions. The first is No Man's Sky, because that game launched really broken and didn't have any of the things that it was promising that it was going to have. But they spent a lot of time fixing it over the course of the generation, and Sean Murray gave credit to my favorite professor in one of his GDC talks, so I'm going to let him off easy this time.
And I thought it would be cool, and somebody else had already done it in Parbury, and way better than me.
And the second is Cyberpunk 2077, because again, launched really broken, but that cock-up is still cascading, so who knows where it's going to wind up. I will say this, though. It's got to be in a pretty sorry state for PlayStation to take one of the most anticipated and biggest games of the last couple years and decide right before the holidays to make it basically an Xbox exclusive. Alright. Number 10 is all of Platinum's licensed games. Platinum makes really good games sometimes. Nier Automata, Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. These are some of the best character action games of the last very long while. So why is it that whenever they get a license like Legend of Korra, Ninja Turtles, Transformers, they just put out absolute garbage? They look bad, they play bad. Why bother? I mean, I understand that they're probably doing it just to get a good cash grab, right? They got to get those games out so that they can get money coming in so that they can make the games that they actually want to make. But here's the thing. Their games that they actually want to make, the Niers, they would sell so much better if people knew who Platinum Games was. And what's the best way to get Platinum Games' name out there to the common public? By putting out really good licensed games. People are going to buy a game just because it has Ninja Turtles on it. But what do you want them to do? Play that game, hate it, and then think that Platinum Games sucks? Or buy it, play it, love it, and then just become lifelong fans of the entire studio? Like, why are we even bothering putting out these messes of games? Number 9 is both Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. Because they are so disgusting, so bad, so money hungry, that I literally cannot separate them. The first one launched at basically full price with 4 maps. That's not a game, that's a demo. But they still wanted full price for it. And the second game, if you wanted to play that game, pay $60 for it and just play it. At one point, it would have taken you 40 hours to unlock one hero character. One. If you want to play as Darth Vader, that's 40 hours of multiplayer. If you wanted to unlock everything, that's over 1,000 hours of gameplay. And the gameplay, pretty basic, kinda shitty. So these loot boxes were the only way that people in any reasonable amount of time could play the game the way they actually wanted to. And on top of that, if you did buy the loot boxes, then you would start getting pay to win things. Oh, your gun does more damage. Your recoil is less. You have more ammo. Cool. So if you pay money, you can just beat everyone who didn't. Great. These loot boxes were so bad that multiple world governments had to get involved to see whether or not what EA was doing was even legal by gambling standards, because they were marketing gambling to children on a massive scale. And you might be going, well, at least the game was good. It wasn't. The campaign of Battlefront 2 is one of the shittiest Star Wars stories I have ever seen, and I've seen all the movies, and the last 3 were pretty bad. Number 8 is Death Stranding. this is such a shit show of a game. Like, I don't even know where to start on this one, honestly. The gameplay is nothing. You just walk. It's literally a walking simulator. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, but there's a lot of gameplay involved. Yeah, you're simulating walking. It's like you have to change your boots because your boots have worn out, or you have to balance the shit on your back so you don't fall over. It's so boring and lame. And like a couple of shooting sections to like make it seem like maybe it's a video game might have worked if those sections weren't terrible. Like running through weird dreamscape World War II, shooting Mads Mikkelsen with bullets made out of my actual literal shit, piss, and blood is not what I want from a video game. And on top of that, you look at the story of it, and it's one of the most convoluted, bullshit, nothing stories I've ever experienced. Like, people complain about Kingdom Hearts. At least that's fun. At least you can enjoy parts of that. In this, it's just nonsense garbage. At one point near the end, a character comes up and he's just overacting so hard, and everyone in this game does. But I've literally talked to this character. He's the guy with the black skull mask. He comes up to you. He's talked to you like maybe twice in the entire game, and he throws himself at your feet, and he's crying this just horrible scene-chewing bullshit cry. And he's like, "Oh, will you ever forgive me?" And it's like, I don't even know who the fuck you are. What are we doing here? Like, and I don't know why this is a surprise. I don't know why so many people thought that this game was going to be great. Like, you look at Kojima's last game, like, everyone thought that Kojima was going to be just a rock star and he was going to make this perfect game. But you look at his last game, Metal Gear 5, and it's like, what does everyone say about that? The gameplay's pretty fun, but the story is bullshit. So why do you think taking the guy who did the bad part, removing him from the group that did the good part, and sending him somewhere else is going to mean that the new game is good? It just doesn't make any sense. Number 7 is VR. Just all of VR can get fucked. I've played so many different VR games. I've played Moss. I've played Beat Saber. I've played Astrobot. Like, on and on and on. And they are all, like, fine to bad. Most of them are bad. Some of them are like fine. Like, you can enjoy a game of Beat Saber. The problem is that VR as a concept doesn't work. Like, barring the fact that you're asking people to pay an additional like what, $300-$400 for bad, short, nothing games. Like, remember when you were a kid and your mom said, "Don't sit too close to the TV, it'll fuck up your head"? You're strapping a TV to your face. I was doing a VR project in school, and of the 4 people in my group, I was the only one who could wear the thing for more than like 15 minutes without either feeling super nauseous or getting a horrible headache. Because it's literally a TV strapped to your eyeballs, which is like the worst thing you can do to your eyes. And for me, like, I couldn't wear my glasses on it, so it didn't matter. Like, I couldn't barely see what I was doing, because if I tried to wear my glasses under it, it just smashed it in my head. Like, all around a complete bullshit, horrible idea. And you can tell that the industry is starting to catch on to it, because, like, look at PlayStation. Over the last couple of years, they have shut down both of their VR studios, both Manchester and I think it's London. Both of their UK studios shut down. Number 6 is Crackdown 3. I feel like you're probably not going to disagree with me on this one, but Crackdown 3 is a garbage fire of a game. Like, here's the thing that baffles me the most about it, right? This game was announced in like 2014, which means it was in development for what, 5-6 years at least before it came out. And you look at the game and it's like, where did all that time go? Where did all that money go? Because, like, it doesn't look good. The map is super small. It doesn't run well. There's a handful of guns, and most of them are kind of the same, so they didn't spend any time or effort there. Like, the cutscenes basically don't exist. Like, there's one at the beginning, and I think one at the end, and then everything in the middle is just like little comic book panels. It's like barely an animatic. The designs are nothing. The one thing that this game said it was going to have going for it, the destruction, like being able to destroy the entire city if you wanted to, didn't even make it into the game. It barely made it into one multiplayer mode. And it's like, guys, Mercenaries Playground of Destruction on the PS2, you could destroy most buildings. I mean, yeah, granted, it was like there's a building here, then you shoot a bunch, and then dust, and there's not a building there. But Crackdown 3 couldn't even do that. There's just nothing to this game, and it's baffling. I don't understand how this game took this long to make when there is just nothing to it. Number 5 is Fallout 76. And this one hurts me personally because I love Bethesda. I honestly think that they're one of the best and still one of the most underrated studios ever. Like, they made some of my favorite games. Fallout 3, all of the Elder Scrolls. They do such amazing work. But the last couple years have not been good for them. And Fallout 76 is the biggest proof of that. Like, it's just so broken. Like, so many horrible game-breaking bugs. Like, people putting things into boxes and then they just all disappear. Or getting attacked by groups of ghouls where every single one of them is just fully T-posing. The decision to not have NPCs in the game, which I know that they're in there now, but it's too little too late, honestly. But just not having NPCs in there, writing is Bethesda's strongest category. And when you take out the NPCs, you kind of take out the one thing that Bethesda is best at. Like, you get all the hollow logs, the voice recordings, but like for some reason the audio on it is really low in comparison to everything around you, so you can like barely hear it, so you have to completely stop what you're doing and listen to it. And it just makes the game feel so slow and boring, and like not having characters around to interact with and like see how they're handling the world that they're in makes the world feel incredibly boring. And then on top of that, there's all the bullshit with like the pre-order and the canvas bag and just like so much nonsense surrounding the game that like you could hate this game without ever even having touched it, because there's just so many things that went wrong with it. Number 4 is Anthem. For some reason, EA went, hey, we just bought one of the best RPG writing studios of all time. What should we do with them? Destiny's popular. Let's have them make something completely different than what they're good at doing, because that'll probably make money. And the result was one of the shittiest games of the entire generation. It's full of loading screens. Like, you literally have to go through, I think, 6 to get from the hub, the Anthem, to like the actual gameplay. All of the guns look exactly the same, and they roll stats randomly, so there's like the different level of rarity doesn't actually mean anything, because you can get an epic weapon that is like a flamethrower that does 0 damage over 0 seconds because it's literally completely random, or you can get a common flamethrower that does plus 100% damage for 100 seconds or some bullshit, because it just makes no sense. And here's the thing, it's a heavily stat-based game, right? Like, you'll be looking at your items and it's like, oh, this makes your reload speed different and this affects your resistances. There's no stat page. You can't even look at what your stats are. So literally the only way of figuring out whether or not any of these shitty samey guns do anything good for you, really, is to go out and test them. And like, the game is so short and so repetitive that like there's no reason that anyone is going to stick around for 100, 200 hours like people put into Destiny very easily to do any of this. Like, when the game launched, it didn't have any raids. The campaign was super short. It had, I think, like 2 or 3 dungeons that you could do at the end, and they were entirely recycled material from the game. Like, one of them was literally you just fight the end game boss again. It's just, it's so horrendously bad. It runs like shit. I mean, it looks pretty good, and like flying is apparently really fun, but like I just don't understand how anyone can get anything enjoyable out of this game. And it's no wonder, because this is not what BioWare is supposed to be doing. Number 3 is Dead Rising 4. Remember when Dead Rising was good? Like Dead Rising 1 and 2, how those were some of the best games of the 360 generation, and they were like kind of one of the number one reasons to own a 360. And then Dead Rising 3 came out, and it was like fine, I guess. 4 took everything that was good about those previous games, even 3, and just threw that shit out. They were like, hey, did you like rescuing survivors? Did you like fighting psychopaths? Did you like having a timer to keep you, like, you know, tense because it's a fucking horror game? Guess what? Now it's just about fighting zombies. You want to do, you want to make a bunch of really stupid combo weapons that weren't even in the first game and didn't add anything really to the later games? Cool. There's 400 of them now. You want to run around in a big open world where there's fucking absolutely nothing to do? Cool. It's huge. Did you like the writing of the first couple games? Not really? Cool. We're going to double down on that. And we're just going to make some of the stupidest bullshit. Did you like Frank? Too bad. It's Frank, but it's not the same voice actor. He's going to act like a total fucking douchebag prick for the entire goddamn game.
Just hear me out.
You said we were going to go play mini golf.
Respectfully, Professor, I can't actually believe you fell for that.
I love mini golf.
Every character in this game is so hateable and so stupid. They're just awful. And it doesn't run well. It doesn't look good. Like, Dead Rising 3, one of the only good things you could say about it was, like, that looks pretty good. Like, the lighting was good. The zombies look good. Some of the psychos were cool looking. In this, nothing. There is not a single positive in this entire game. It's just a complete bastardization of what Dead Rising used to be. And while we're on the topic of taking a really great game franchise and just fucking it all the way up, number 2 is Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect 1, 2, and yes, even 3 were some of the best games of the 360 generation, without a doubt. And I know that saying that about 3 is probably going to get some people going like, oh, but the ending was really, really bad. And it's like, yeah, the ending was pretty shitty, but there was like, 40 hours of shit before that was top grade, really cool. Like, I'm sorry, calm down. It was good. It was a good game. But then you get to this, and it's like, let's just throw all that shit out, fam. Did you like all those really great companions? Cool. Now you get Liam, who's a fucking moron.
I think I really pissed that one off. Maybe because I shot him in the face.
Or PB, who at one point kidnaps you for the stupidest fucking reason, and just every single one of your companions is so pointless. Like, I hate every single one of them. The only one of them that I don't actively wish was dead is the main girl, whose name I don't even really remember. I think it was Cora, but like she was just boring enough to not be hateable. You know what I mean? And like, if that's the best character in your game, you've really fucked up. And the bugs, holy shit, the bugs. Like, driving around on any planet and a ship comes over and a group of soldiers drops out and they're just completely T-posed and there's just a gun floating in front of them, and just, and it looks like absolute shit. The facial animations, how they're just completely box standard and like don't look good at all. Like they don't match what's going on. Like the infamous like, I'm sorry, my face is tired. Like, Jesus Christ. This is like the death toll of BioWare. Like when EA bought them, we were all really scared. We were like, oh man, but maybe BioWare will know what they have and like use them good. And then they were like, make a sequel, but make it fucking garbage. And number 1 is WWE 2K20. A lot of the previous games on this list, Dead Rising 4, Mass Effect, Fallout 76, they were on here because they took something that was really amazing and just kind of fucked it up. But this game somehow managed to take a franchise that was already really shitty, broken, didn't play well, and made it 400% worse in every single category. The bugs, like if you've seen one thing about this game, it's the horrible bugs where people are like jittering through the floor, or their hair's just flipping out all over the place, or like a character's legs are bent backwards over their head for no reason. Just absolutely horrible. And the faces somehow look worse than the previous year. And I don't know how that works, because usually in annualized games like this, they just take the shit from the previous game and move it over to the new one, and then maybe add some new stuff on top. But this time, they were like, hey, you know how faces were like kind of okay last year? What if, get this, they just weren't anymore? And I don't understand what the line of thinking was. Like, I know they switched studios, but the files, that you could just send those over. You could just send those right over and it'd be fine. Or the story mode is one of the most horrible things that video games have ever written.
It was a huge mistake. Oh no, I've unleashed Hothead Red. I'm gonna take that marker, bring it to your grandmother's nursing home, and cross out parts of her chart, so when the nurse goes to give her turn-down service, she won't know to flip her over. That's right, I'm gonna give your grandmother bed sores.
It's so terrible, like hilariously terrible. It's almost worth watching somebody else play through it just because of how awful it is. Like, I don't understand how absolutely any part of this game was cleared for sale, because none of it works. None of it is good. They couldn't even get the menus right. There was a picture on the menu that they plagiarized of a woman named Tessa Blanchard, who was from a different promotion. And they were, I guess the people who made the game were just like, oh, well, that's a wrestler, I'm sure that's fine. And then they got sued because the guy who took the picture was like, hey, that's fucking mine though. Like, they couldn't get a single thing in this game right. I don't understand how that happens. Like, oh man, this had to be number 1 because it's so bad that like it goes past the point of being irritating and just starts being funny. Like, that's the only good thing about it, is that sometimes it's fun to watch it burn. So those are the worst games of the generation. There's probably a bunch of other really terrible games that could have made this list, and if you know what they are, please let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear the horror stories. But to be honest, I think a game would have to crawl out of the TV and punch me square in the balls to be worse than any of these ones. But you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching until the end of the video. It makes a huge difference to the algorithm for some reason, and thereby my ability to grow this channel. So thank you for that. And until next time, I'll see you around.